Good evening from New York. I'm Ali Velshi in for Chris Hayes. Donald Trump always promises the best deals, but a day after he backed down from his threat to kill, quote, a whole civilization, end quote, his words, everyone's waking up to the fact that his ceasefire with Iran was smoke and mirrors, that the President of the United States crossed a dark line that cannot be uncrossed, all for a shaky promise of a temporary peace that began falling apart less than 24 hours later, and a humiliating list of concessions that Iran says Trump promised them. It's starting to look like Trump was desperate for a way out of a war that he launched almost 6 weeks ago without good reason, a way to wrap it up, to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and declare mission accomplished. That's what the White House tried to do this afternoon.
Thanks to the unmatched excellence of our warriors at the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, the world has just witnessed a historically swift and successful military triumph. President Trump started Operation Epic Fury with strategic military objectives, and the United States has clearly achieved them. It was a very, very strong threat from the President of the United States that led the Iranian regime to cave to their knees and ask for a ceasefire and agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
But by that time, Trump's alleged deal with Iran, which ostensibly is a 2-week ceasefire to negotiate peace, was already falling apart. Now, according to the Pakistani officials who brokered the ceasefire agreement between Trump and Iran, the deal covers Lebanon, too, which has been under constant bombardment by Israel. Multiple Iranian officials said the same thing, and they publicly warned that they would respond if Israel didn't stop the bombing in Lebanon. But today, Israel didn't just continue bombing Lebanon. It launched the deadliest attacks there since the war began, 100 airstrikes in 10 minutes, according to the New York Times. At least 182 people were killed and hundreds were wounded today alone, according to the AP. Today, the White House saw that fire raging and poured gasoline on it.
Would President Trump like to see Lebanon included in this peace deal? Because as you know, there's been increased Israeli strikes on Lebanon today with dozens of casualties there.
Sure. Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire.
So after the U.S. said that their idea of a peace deal doesn't extend to stopping Israel's bombs that are going into Lebanon, Iranian state media reported that the government there had resumed blocking traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, once again cutting off 20% of the world's oil and gas supply. As a reminder, that's something they were not doing before Donald Trump started the war. The Strait of Hormuz was open and operating properly 6 weeks ago, something Trump said had to stop before he would end the war. But once again, the White House was caught flat-footed.
Well, with respect to the first reporting out of Iranian state media, the president was made aware of those reports before I came to the podium. That is completely unacceptable. And again, this is a case of what they're saying publicly is different privately. We have seen an uptick of traffic in the Strait today.
We've seen an uptick in traffic in the Strait of Hormuz today. Let's talk about that for a second. Before Iran closed the Strait again today, 3 ships were observed leaving the region on Wednesday, according to ship tracking data that's compiled by Bloomberg. That is 3 ships out of an estimated 800 tanker ships awaiting safe passage. And by the time the White House spokesperson, Carolyn Levitt, left that podium, Iranian officials said the U.S. had violated the ceasefire agreement and that peace negotiations would not continue. For its part, the White House says peace talks are ongoing, and J.D. Vance is slated to join negotiations in Pakistan this weekend. This is where Donald Trump's threat of genocidal violence has led us. He discussed destroying an entire population, an entire civilization, as he called it yesterday, on behalf of the American people, using American taxpayer dollars. In doing that, he crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Whether or not that was a negotiating tactic, it didn't work anyway. This wasn't just talk about defeating an opposing military or changing a regime. Trump went 19 steps further. He went to a place where dictators go, a place beyond saneness and humanity. It's the stuff of horrible, megalomaniacal, authoritarian behavior throughout history. The Geneva Conventions and the U.S. military's own law of war spell out how the President of the United States was talking about committing war crimes in public. In fact, they spell out that merely making the threat itself is a war crime. But Trump is flouting those laws like he flouts all other laws, making a mockery of American ideals and values and laws, creating a permission structure for unbridled brutality. If you thought January 6th was a real problem, if you thought the deadly Capitol insurrection was a serious attack on American values and on who we are as a people, Donald Trump's threat to kill a whole civilization is just as dangerous, if not worse. Ben Rhodes served as a deputy national security advisor for President Obama. He now hosts the Crooked Media's Pod Save the World. He joins me now. Ben, this is, I think it's hard to impress on people that ceasefire or no ceasefire, and we can discuss whether or not this is real. What Donald Trump did yesterday is unheard of in the annals of American history.
No, I mean, there's nothing in modern American history anywhere near this. He threatened to commit genocide. He threatened to wipe out a thousands-year-old civilization. He threatened to bomb civilian targets that have nothing to do with any military objectives. He threatened mass murder on an epic scale. And whether he ends up doing it or not, he's already committed a war crime. And this will color the opinion in the United States for a generation around the world. There is no moral high ground anymore. He effectively cast the United States as acting like a rogue nation, led by an autocrat who doesn't value any human life whatsoever. And those are pretty serious words, but that's what he said. I mean,
I can't believe you're saying these words.
It wasn't the first time. Yeah.
I mean, we've all been critical of presidents and different leaders. This is different. This is not critical of. This is completely in a different space. Whether or not you believe that the United States should be the world's policeman or be at the forefront of these discussions is entirely different from what we have now become.